morning, dear readers. Welcome back to my channel, Books, Ink, and Paper. I'm Lori, and if this is your first time, thanks for joining me. I am excited to be getting more subscribers, and I just want you to know that if you haven't already subscribed, you can click the subscribe button on my page as well as on my channel page, as well as the bell notification button at the top of the page, which will let you know when a new video is coming out. So today's topic is some of my favorite adaptations of book to film or book to mini series, and there are only 5 of them today because I want to keep this short. My last couple videos were long, and because I may be adding more along the way. There are some really great films coming out based on some books that I've loved, and so stay tuned for more of videos like this. But for today, let's get started. The Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Society, one of my favorite novels and also one of my favorite adaptations. Netflix recently released this adaptation, I want to say maybe not quite a year ago, maybe a year ago now. And it stars some of my favorite cast members from Downton Abbey and from other shows and movies that I adore. It's very well done, but the novel that I read first was published in 2008 by Marianne Shaffer and Annie Barrows. Now, Annie Barrows is Marianne's niece, and the reason this is co-authored is because, sadly, Marianne passed away before the book was published. It was published again, I think I said, in 2008, and she died in February of 2008, so it was published by her trust. Nevertheless, it was a lovely, seamless completion by her niece and a great tribute to her. I loved this novel. It's an epistolary novel, which means it's all letters. I don't think there's any narrative, as I recall. It's been a while. The main characters are Juliet, who's a writer. She went through the war, and it's post-war England, and she's trying to kind of carry on and press on with her life and her writing, and she receives a letter from Dawsey, who is a member of the Guernsey Literary Potato Peel Society, which is a book club that was formed while the island of Guernsey was occupied during World War II. They made a potato peel pie to go with their book club, and he explained some of the things that they had been doing and some of the things they went through during the war. Juliet is really taken by these letters and by meeting these people in letter form, and so she decides one day to go on a journey to meet them in person. I highly recommend the book first and then the adaptation, but that's just me. Either way, I think you'll enjoy both of them, and I'm pretty sure I gave this 5 stars. A more recent adaptation to a movie that I read, this is a case where I saw the movie before I read the book, and that is The Silver Linings Playbook by Matthew Quick. I had seen the movie long ago. It's one of my favorites. I had never read the book, and so recently I picked it up. By recently, I think I mean last month. It was not too long ago. I liked the movie better than the book. I ended up giving the book 4 stars, I think. And I only did that because the end picked up a little bit more. If it had stayed on pace with the rest of the novel, I probably would have gone with 3 or 3.5. Nevertheless, it was well written. I liked it. I just didn't love it. However, the movie I adore. I'm not sure why. I'm a big fan of Bradley Cooper, but this one is a bit different from some of his typical movie characters. It's a great story about mental illness, about recovery, about family that is somewhat complicated. It's just neat, and if you haven't read it or seen the film, I recommend that you do both. I don't know which you should do first, but in my case, I'm actually glad that I saw the movie before I read the book in this case. And again, that's not normal for me. Another one of my favorites is the Outlander series by Diana Gabaldon. I started reading these books pretty quickly after they came out. When I began, Outlander had been released, and I think Dragonfly and Amber and Voyager, which were the 2nd and 3rd, were also released, and then I had to wait for them to be published. Diana Gabaldon, it's crooked. Diana Gabaldon is a very amazing storyteller. Her books are very dense. This is the shortest one, I would say, of all of the 8 that are currently published. There is a 9th novel on its way. In fact, I recently had the opportunity to see her speak at a local WizardCon in New Orleans, and the new novel is called Tell the Bees I'm Gone. So number 9 is not quite finished yet. She takes her time writing. They have just been immensely and wildly popular, even more so since Starz adapted the series into a or adapted the book series into a series on Starz. They're in their 5th season, I think, of that series. And so now they are up to the 4th novel, which is Drums of Autumn. I think Drums of Autumn is the 4th. So if you want to read the entire series until and get caught up to where we are now, you might want to wait and not watch the miniseries later. That's totally up to you. I will say that the Starz series changes some things from the books. So, there's that. When we first read these, my sister and I, some of my family members, my daughters read them, we really felt like they could never make a movie out of these books. It would never live up to the images and to the characters and to what we loved about these books. We felt like that would be a tragedy. And I can tell you that we're delighted by the miniseries that Starz has produced. It's very well done. And while it doesn't exactly follow the books, it is, they did a great job of casting and directing and writing that show. The premise of this novel, or these novels, if you don't know, begins with Claire Randall and her husband Frank, who go to Scotland to research Frank's ancestry. And it's just after the war. They're reunited. They married and hadn't seen each other for the entire time World War II was being fought, and they are reunited and on a little bit of a honeymoon to Scotland. And Claire is just looking around, and she's picking herbs and just getting to know the area, and finds these stones. And she is transported through the stones into 1740s Scotland, and is immediately discovered by British soldiers, and they want to know why she's dressed the way she is and who she is and what's going on, and it immediately launches from there. They are very detailed, both in the novel as well as in the miniseries, and really one of my favorites of all time. Another Netflix out of the park hit recently is The Haunting of Hill House. This is a book to miniseries adaptation. The book was originally written published in 1959 by Shirley Jackson. It is quite different than the miniseries. I listened to The Haunting of Hill House a couple of years ago, again, after I had read it many years prior in junior high or high school, I think. The character names in the miniseries do come from the book, but there's a lot of differences in the way that this series is revealed and is plotted. However, I enjoy them both. I think I enjoy the miniseries more than the book, just because it's a little slow, and yeah, I mean, I just think the miniseries adaptation is fantastic, and I understand there might be another season. I don't know how they'll work that out, but I recommend that you do both. And again, the order really, to me, doesn't necessarily matter, because the miniseries is so different. It won't spoil anything either way. And then last for today is my favorite film adaptation of all of these, I think, is Harry Potter, the Harry Potter series by J.K. Rowling. I'm not sure there's anyone on the planet that doesn't know what these books are about and what the movies are like, but I just have to give it a nod. Again, when we discovered that they were going to make a movie out of this book, we weren't certain that that was going to be a good idea. And I am pleased that they really are great. They're not as detailed, they aren't as long as the book, so I recommend that you do both if you haven't. I think the movies are very well done, a shortened version of a great series. The interesting part about this is that I read this first book while I was at a conference in Huntsville, Alabama, and currently my partner is at the same conference in Huntsville, Alabama, but I read it in the 3 or 4 days that I was gone. Immediately came back and told my family that they all had to read it. And we waited with bated breath for the next installments to come out. We went to midnight releases at our Barnes & Noble. We dressed up. We went to the movie in the same way. We were just excited. We all went together. It was really a family bonding experience as well as an incredible piece of work. So this probably will always be my favorite book to movie adaptation. All right, thanks so much for joining me today. Hopefully this one was shorter. I appreciate you. Again, if you haven't already, hit subscribe and click on the button to be notified of new videos. It's been a little bit for me since I was able to get a video out, so I apologize for that. I was out of town for a few days and could not film where I was. I did hope to do a bookstore filming in the place that I was visiting, but that bookstore has closed down and is now for sale, so that made me very sad. But I am back, and I hopefully will get a couple more videos up in the next few days. I hope you enjoyed this. Leave a comment below about whether you've read any of these, watched the movies, how you feel about them, and what are your favorite book to movie adaptations. Chances are I may not have seen them, so I would love to know what it is that you appreciate in that vein. And as always, happy reading. Bye-bye.